Hey guys, welcome back to Next Gen Prepping, and today I want to talk about a visual representation of what a society breakdown is. This is kind of my formula based off of what's been the past, what history has looked like, and trying to apply it to a future context. So what we have here on the left hand is the society. As you can see, we have stagnant trends, we have lower trends, and upward trends. Also, it's going to be based off of time. I don't have any dates here, because time is irrelevant to the situation, because this could be something as simple as towards a tornado, it could be something towards as like an ice storm, it could be something towards just a power outage for 24 hours in a large city. So the time is kind of irrelevant, but the graphing will still remain the same based off your situation. So what we're looking at is how well do we have it in society. Upward trend, we're kind of as high as we can get, guys. We have Wi-Fi, we have electricity, we have running water, we have the basic essentials. And for the most part, most of our grocery stores are stocked. Yes, they're slimming down, but for the most part, we have food and we have water. So what we want to take a look at here is on the trend of society where we have things really well. Right here, I've kind of marked off a basic inconvenience for everybody as a culture. Right now we're going through the pandemic, and we're nearly out of it. But if you can take terms and look at it previous, just the shops being out of goods, all the toilet paper being missing, and events like that. And then following that in the summer, we had all the riots. And then kind of what stopped all the riots was when National Guard was coming into play. It stopped being warm out, it started getting cold, and then we kind of had just kind of like a stagnant trust in society when the election was going on. And then typically after that election, we're starting to see it kind of come back up, but who knows, next week we could be right back here again. So just kind of, simple breakdown where the time part is irrelevant. You could look at Hurricane Katrina. Things were going good, people were told. The storm was getting close. People started leaving. Things were inconvenient for them down there. And then the storm hit. And then we just had that downfall, that chaos. And after that, just the complete wreckage of trying to come back through and rebuild. So again, just kind of a couple examples there on how I view that graph. But we really want to break this down into three parts. We want to break this down into the we want to break this down to the downfall, and we want to break this down to post-collapse. What are we going to be doing? What can we do now to make sure we have our bases covered? So the first thing that everybody can do is gather. Everybody can gather their food. They can gather their guns, their water, and just all your kind of medical gear, all that stuff that you need, the basics, right? We can do that right now, no problem. Second thing that you want to look at is a plan. What you want to do is you want to organize a plan that multiple people can do. You want to organize something that with your family, your neighbors, your close friends. And when I say neighbors, I don't mean just everybody next door. I mean somebody next door that you trust that would let your dogs out, or someone that could watch your kid for you while you and the wife go out. That's kind of what I mean by that. But with that group, you want to start in getting a communication. You want to have those people get together, and you want to be on that same page of hey, if X happens, we're going somewhere. If A, B, or C is going on, we have X, Y, Z to go on too. So having a plan with a group of people should be your priority right now to kind of get things in going, have a place to go so you don't become a refugee, and have food and water and all sorts of equipment at your location that you guys are bugging out to, okay? Along with this, now that you've been gathering your goods, now that you have a plan, and now that you have people to plan with, what you want to start doing is training. Whether you want to become a specialist in something or become a jack of all trades, master of none, right? But you need to get some training, whether that's with firearms. And when I mean training, I don't mean as in you and your uncle go shoot groups together. I mean, you go to a professional, you pay them for the course, and you take multiple courses throughout a year. You're paying somebody who is a professional who does this every day, and they're going to give you your expert opinion. They're going to tell you what you need to improve on. They're going to tell you what you're doing wrong, and they're not going to be afraid to say what you're doing wrong and correct that to make sure you're doing things right. That's going to be the same thing for firearms. If you want to do like some bushcraft training, having a wilderness specialist or somebody who's professional in that aspect, taking you out on a trail, teaching you what foods you can eat. A better thing too that they could teach you too is what foods can I test? Like, how do I test the foods to make sure this isn't poisonous? How do I test these foods to make sure I'm not allergic to them? Those types of things, and what are the side effects of these foods? Does this food give me diarrhea? Does this food, make me dizzy? There's going to be things like that you need a professional to teach you, and something a professional knows. So training from a professional, somebody who can tell you everything that you need to know. Along with that training, you're going to want to develop new skills. You don't want to just do the same training that you know over and over. It doesn't make much sense to go through if you're doing pistol training and you're an expert with a pistol and you can't get any better. Stop training that pistol and start learning how to use a rifle. If you know how to make a fire 10 different ways, it doesn't make much sense to learn an 11th way how to make a fire. Typically at that point, you want to move on to, how do I start a garden? What plants grow well in my area? What plants don't go well? What can I eat in the woods? What can I do differently? So getting new skills, learning to do things just a little bit better than what you're doing today is a good skill set to have. But this is the big one. This is what I really want to touch on, you guys. Right now, things are good. Right now, we have a really good baseline going on right now. We still have internet. We still have power. We still have water. And we still have the ability to go to work and earn income. So things are really good right now. What do we want to do? We want to abuse every second, every ounce of things of resources that we have. Abuse it, abuse it, abuse it. So we have electricity and we have heat. We should be canning food. We should be learning how to start a garden. We should be learning how to purify water. We should be gathering water purification stuff. We should be learning to do all this stuff right now. We should be going on Google every night and learning one new skill. Not necessarily practicing or training that skill, but writing it down on paper. We should be doing something or watching some type of entertainment for us, but also info entertainment, right? We want to be able to take something away from that. That's all going to kind of come into play. Like, well, I might not know how to start a fire with the flint and rod, but if I've watched 10 YouTube videos on it, I can go out next weekend and try it. Stuff like that is what I'm talking about. Abuse what we have now. Electric canners. I don't know if you guys ever seen them or ever use them. They work wonderfully. As a matter of fact, you probably are going to spend more time peeling your fruits or vegetables than you are going to be spending time waiting for that canner to go through. Also, just stockpiling water, food. Now's the time to experiment with a garden. Things are good. I don't have to wait for whatever is out in my garden right now to grow. I can just go down to the grocery store and pick up what I want to eat for dinner tonight. If we're here, that might not be happening. There might not be a grocery store to go to, or there might not be anybody to trade with. So we got to rely on what we have now. So abuse everything we have now. Use as much electricity as we can now. Get those power tools out. Build those garden boxes. Build those tiny homes. Build those racks to store all your food on. Use what we have now and abuse it as much as we can right now. Because there's going to be the time is going to come where we have this little minor inconvenience, and enough people get pissed about that minor inconvenience that turns into chaos, right? This could be something as similar as what we have right now. So in the United States, we're going through a drought, and we're going through high heat. They could come out tomorrow and tell us, sorry guys, we're going to restrict how much electricity you can use and how long you can use it for. That could, in turn, lead to power outages or people revolting, people rebelling, and leading into chaos. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying that those are the kind of signs we see, and those are the types of things that lead into those bubbles that pop. So when we get into the downfall here, this is your danger zone. This is where things are going to be more dangerous than usual. This is going to be the time frame where you got to be nervous with the people around you. You got to be nervous with who you can trust, right? So when we see that bubble pop, or we feel that bubble's popping or about to pop, Action. Call to action. What we want to do is put your plan in play. What I mean by that, are you bugging in? Are you bugging out? Are you going out to the woods? Or are you going to travel? I don't recommend bugging out into the woods because there's 350 million Americans and they're going to try and do the same thing, right? And if you're going out there, you're a refugee. You don't have a place to go. So if you're bugging out, travel. Don't bug out to the woods. Travel to your next bug-in location. If you're not bugging in at home, travel to a place where you can bug in at, okay? Second thing we want to do is contact that group, right? You're going to contact that group that you're putting the action in place. So all this is kind of coming together like a machine now. You guys can see that every little part is like a little gear and they're all rotating together. So your group, you're going to say, all right, guys, we're doing plan A. We're going to be on this roadway at this time tonight. We're moving at dark. So your group is all getting together to travel together. Your actions all going into play. Second thing with that group and that call to action is you're going to want to have a show of force. No, I'm not saying use force. I'm saying a show of force, right? If you guys have a firearm, it's on your body, it's on your person, and someone else can see it. Its intention is to be seen. So if you have a rifle, it's slung over your chest. If you have a pistol, it's on your hip. It's out in the open and exposed. And you're gonna, if you have, like plates and carriers, they are exposed. You want that stuff on. You want that gear on to get to your bug-in location. You want that gear on, and you want to have that show of force. Following that show of force, you're gonna want to have a command presence. You're gonna want to use stern, loud voice, deep voice, and you want to be able to give a command and mean it when you say it. Because all this adds up together, you guys. It all works together as one system. Following the show of force, you want to build a security plan or a security detail to where if you're driving together with a group, or if you and a couple people are just driving together, have car A, car B, or 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're going to want to have, let's just say a flat tire happens. You want to have somebody in that contact in that vehicle, so a flat tire, the vehicle is in contact, and then you have a cover vehicle watching you 360 degrees. Let's just say you come up on a vehicle roadblock, right? Let's just say there's a couple of guys blocking the road, making you pay $100 to pass through. Well, you're going to be contact. If you have that show of force, you can tell them to buzz off. And if you have the show of force and the command presence to do so, they're not looking for a fight. Odds are they're looking for an easy buck. They're looking for an easy meal, looking to do something. They are predators, just like lions. They eat the weakest prey. Same thing when we're looking at the criminals at this time. We're not trying to be forceful. We're trying to be defensive. But being defensive is showing you're offensive here. So just a show of force, being ready, loud, and direct. Short, direct terms. Move. Stuff like that is what you're going to want to do. So that security is going to combine the show of force. You guys are going to be moving. You have the contact. You're going to have somebody watching in front of you, watching behind you, and they're going to be watching the sides. Following that, you're going to want to set up a routine. By what I mean routine, it's trying this plan out on the weekends with your group. It's doing this once a month, twice a year, 3 times a year. And then when you get to your location, like let's just say you go to a bug-in location, you're going out to the cabin. Try spending a weekend at that cabin with no power. Small things like that. Build a routine. What's your routine when you guys get to that cabin and you turn the power off? Start those chores. First thing we're going to do is start boiling water. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to start having our meal prep set out. And, the third thing we're going to do is start putting lines in the water. Things like that is what we're going to want to start. Have a routine set in place that follows that plan, okay? So basically, this is going to be a short period of time as compared to the pre and the post. So when the chaos is happening, there's going to be that event where we aren't worried anymore, or less stressed out, or the military stepped in, or a foreign country stepped in, or the people just revolted and those who survived are now, more like-minded. It's going to be things like that, or gangs got involved and the gangs now run things. I'm not saying that's good, but there's going to be some type of base level of structure here where you're not necessarily thinking that the person in front of you is going to kill you. So the post we're going to start to see at this point, you're going to be doing a lot more chores and manual labor. You're going to be in that garden. You are going to be physically moving things yourself. You're going to be walking from A to B. You're going to be having folks do things themselves now. The second thing you're going to start to see is trust in people. But what I mean by that, kind of going back to a little bit earlier, not everybody is going to be out there to kill you now. There's still going to be kind of like little sleazy racketeering things going on, or like prison games where, hey, I saw you gave so-and-so a pack of noodles, I want my pack of noodles. You're gonna be seeing things like that still happen in this area. But for the most part, people trying to kill you, yeah, it might still be a thing, but as for the most part, you can kind of relax, you can kind of take that breath, and you can start to see, but just still keep in mind that things aren't better yet, they just aren't getting worse. So the trust is going to come back, you're going to feel a little bit less stress. Then what we're going to start to see is kind of a rebuild of society. And what I'm talking about here is going to be people starting to go to a church, or they're going to have their religions kind of starting services again. Maybe at those locations, they will be handing out a meal, like a cup of rice, a cup of beans, or they're going to have a community garden where everybody who puts effort in can take effort out. One of those types of societies where, it's not necessarily everything's perfect and wonderful, but folks are going to start having a place to go to where they can get some food. The danger level's low. People can start doing things like religion, a library, maybe even farms. You're going to start to see farms kind of pop up and stuff like that. We're going to look at seeing organized structure. So once the rebuild starts happening and you see people starting to trust others again, people are out, going to church and stuff like that, you're going to start to see organized structure. And what I mean by that, there's going to be a routine starting to happen. Folks are going to be coming out. You're going to start seeing more people. You're going to start having more conversations, socializing. And you're going to get that structure. And like, if I can go from here to here, this is safe. This place is safe. With those places being safe, you're going to start to see people coming into political power. Again, at this point, I don't have a way to determine if that's good or bad, because we don't know. We don't know what's going on yet. But typically what's happened in the past and in history is there's a new rise in power, there's a new political leader, a new political agenda. Again, good or bad, that's based off perception. I can't tell you if it's good or bad, but typically the people who revolted are going to be the folks who are going to be getting their way. Things could not go that way. It could be a massive gang. The gangs in the big cities could have moved their way out into less urban areas and go more rural, and it's easy for them to take over the rural areas. Who knows? But for the most part, what you're going to see is once people are less stressed out, they're able to get food and can kind of go back to kind of having some daily routines, going outside. You're going to start to see people trying to become a leader. People who want to, like, let's just say a governor or a mayor or something along that lines, a group leader where someone's going to be trying to make rules, or we've had enough chaos, people were scared, and now we're starting to get some rules of law following that people coming to power. Also here, we're going to start to see a currency happen. We're going to start to see people either start to go back to an old currency like the paper dollar, or we're going to see people go back to a different currency like silver, or gold, or we're going to see 22 bullets or ammo in general, or a cup of rice or a cup of beans. We're going to start to see some type of flat currency start to happen where everybody knows its value and everybody can kind of agree to what that value is. Following up currency, we're going to start to see jobs, right? So now that we have the ability to pay people, we're going to start paying people. And that's right where we're going to start to see that uptick. And guys, here in the United States, the infrastructure is there. It's already been built. So getting it up and running again isn't going to be necessarily the hard part. It's going to go relatively pretty quickly. But it's going to be is when people feel safe and people feel comfortable, and what people are going to start be getting paid. Is the risk of going to work worth the income I'm bringing in? Once we hit that point, and once that starts happening, it's going to be a relatively quick uptick and it's going to be quick to come back to a normal society. Might not be overnight, might take a year, might take 2 years, but once we kind of get to that point, once we get to this kind of like right around in this area where we kind of start to get, you know, somebody into power with some laws, and we have a way to pay people, things will bounce back pretty quickly. If you guys have any questions, please leave a comment. If you guys want to tell me I'm wrong, comment, subscribe, and let me know. If you guys have anything else, please wait for the next video.